Hello, everybody. My name's Nerdy Lover, and welcome to another episode of our football betting show here on YouTube, Premier League edition. We're not going to bother recapping last week's matches because we did a recap video for the month of September most recently. So, with September out of the way, we're going to go jumping over to October. We've got a nice fresh spreadsheet to fill out here with some selections. So, without further ado, let's start things off in the Premier League weekend 1st and 2nd of October. First up, we have first place Arsenal hosting third place Tottenham Hotspurs in our first North London derby of the season. And Arsenal will return from the break following a 3-0 drubbing of Brentford in a game in which they dominated the ball, shots and chance creation in both halves. Brentford did look a bit off the pace, and maybe some of the players were in holiday mode already, but that won't matter to Arsenal as they added another 3 points to their records to remain top of the table going into the international break. Despite their loss to Manchester United, it has been a very promising start for the Gunners, averaging a healthy 2.4 goals per game and conceding just under 1 goal per game. Now, Arsenal have seen over 2.5 goals in each of their last 7 matches. The only exception to this for this season was when they defeated Crystal Palace on matchday 1 by 2-0. When we look at the away side, Spurs hit Leicester for 6 with a notable hat-trick off the bench from Son Heung-min, and surely he's going to start the derby game this weekend. Spurs are one of only 2 unbeaten sides remaining in this season, and they haven't actually faced defeat in each of their last 13 Premier League matches. Spurs have seen over 2.5 goals in 4 of their last 7 games this season. And when we look at the head-to-head records, over 2.5 goals have come in 5 of the last 6 North London derbies. So I really do like this selection. You can find this on the exchange for a single, but seeing as it is a derby game, I'm also going to be looking at cards. Now, at time of recording, the card odds have not been released, but what I will probably do is take over 2.5 goals in this game and over 2.5, maybe 3.5 cards, because when we look at each of the last 5 North London derbies, there have been a total of 24 bookings, an average of 4.8 per game. This does include 2 red cards as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take over 2.5 goals and over 3.5 cards for some extra value. I'm expecting the odds to come to just about even money. The final odds will obviously be determined on the day when I put the bet on, but obviously next episode you can see what the odds were eventually. But again, I think we're looking at about even money for our first selection here of the episode. Next up, 12th place Bournemouth host 9th place Brentford, and Bournemouth's last game saw them secure yet another point away from home against Newcastle. Despite only having 28% of the ball and creating only 1 key goal scoring opportunity, the Cherries have done it again. They were clinical and they managed to take some points away from home. This does mean that Bournemouth are unbeaten in each of their last 3 games, picking up 5 points during this time. Now, it is no secret that I'm not a believer that Bournemouth will stay up this year, and I do think that 12th place in the table is a false position. I'm expecting them to start to slide down the table once they get a few more games under their belt, and notably a few more losses. The Cherries are averaging less than 1 goal scored per game and conceding on average about 3 goals per game. These are very unsustainable numbers, and we'll see them in the relegation zone come May. Brentford, on the other hand, as mentioned in the last selection, did not turn up against Arsenal. They did lose by 3-0 at home. Brentford are averaging 2.5 goals per game and conceding 1.5 goals per game, so they are quite a fun team to watch this year. Goals are always guaranteed when Brentford are playing. The star man for Brentford will come to no one's surprise is Ivan Toney. The English striker has scored 5 goals in his 7 league appearances so far this year, adding 2 assists to this tally, a total of 8 goal contributions, which is just shy of 1/3 of Brentford's goal output, can be attributed to just this one man. If Toney plays, Brentford will win. There's no head-to-head record to go off, but I'm going to be taking Brentford in a single for our second selection away from home. Over to London for our third selection as 16th place Crystal Palace hosts 7th place Chelsea. And both sides had their games cancelled last weekend. prior to the international break, the weekend of 17th and 18th of September. This does mean that Crystal Palace have not played a competitive game since their goalless draw of Newcastle on the 3rd of September. It will almost be one full month between competitive matches for them. Chelsea, I hope, will look sharper of the two teams. They have played midweek in the Champions League in order to keep up their match fitness due to the game cancellations. When we look at the head-to-head record, Chelsea have won each of the last 10 games against Crystal Palace, keeping a clean sheet in half of these matches. It's for this reason I'm going to back the Blues today, and I'm going to maybe take a half stake on Chelsea to win and to keep a clean sheet. Our penultimate selection sees two evenly matched teams, 14th place Southampton versus 13th place Everton. Southampton will be glad of the rest for which the international break brings, as they did lose last time against strugglers Aston Villa. Southampton have seen under 2.5 goals in three of their last 4 games, and it may come as to no surprise to Saints fans, as over this 4-game sample, Southampton are only averaging 3.4 shots per game. Southampton's standout player so far has been James Ward-Prowse. Despite only scoring once and assisting once, Ward-Prowse has managed to open up 2.5 key chances per 90, which goes to show that the chances are there, it's just the Southampton strikers are not finishing. Everton perhaps did not want the season to pause, as they did pick up their first win of the year last match day against West Ham. The recent addition, Neil Maupay, scored the decisive goal with a nice flick and a left-footed volley on the half-turn. Everton are now unbeaten in each of their last 6 games in all competitions, and maybe Lampard's starting to turn things around here. Everton have seen under 2.5 goals in 6 of their last 7 games, and it's perhaps not a shocker to the Toffee faithful, as Everton only muster 4.4 shots on target per 90. Now Everton will be relying on their key player Jordan Pickford. The English stopper has an 81% save rate and is being asked to make a save 4.3 times per game. Looking at the head-to-head record between these two sides, 80% of the last 5 games have seen under 2.5 goals. It seems pretty clear to me today that we're going to have to take under 2.5 goals for a full stake. And finally, we have a North London derby to start this week's episode, but we have a Manchester derby to finish it. Second place Manchester City host 5th place Manchester United. And Manchester City had a large helping hand in their win against Wolverhampton last time, thank you to Nathan Collins, with a 33rd minute red card for a crazy kick-out. The Citizens cruised to a 3-0 win against Wolves and continued their unbeaten start to the season so far. With Manchester United's game against Leeds being cancelled, their last competitive game was against Sheriff. They did win 2-0, but they weren't really tested, and they may be a step off the pace for Premier League play. Speaking of pace, after a slow start to the season, Manchester United have won each of their last 4 league matches in a row. When we look at the head-to-head records, Manchester City have won 2 of the last 3 derbies, unbeaten in 4 of the last 5 head-to-heads. I like Manchester City to win here, but when we look at the exchange market, they're not great value. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at each of the last 6 times Manchester City have won a derby match. They've done so by 2 or more goals. So 3 of these 6 matches had a 2-0 scoreline. 2 of these 6 matches had a 3-1 scoreline. And most notably and most recently, Manchester City won 4-1 against Manchester United. It's a little bit more risky than taking Man City straight up, but I'm going to be taking Manchester City -1 on the Asian handicap line to wrap up this episode. So with that, let's jump over to the spreadsheet and recap what we're thinking of doing this weekend. So for this weekend, we do have 5 selections, starting up first with a same-game multi, Arsenal versus Spurs in the North London derby, over 2.5 goals and over 3.5 cards. We're thinking the odds will come up to about even money, so it's a bit of a speculation going on here, but I've got odds of 1 to return £20 from our £20 stake. At the 3 o'clock kickoffs, we've chosen 3 games from these. Bournemouth Brentford, we like Brentford to win away from home, £20 to return £22.80. Chelsea against Crystal Palace. I was thinking about going for the Chelsea to win to 0 option, but it's still quite early days under Graham Potter, so I am just going to take Chelsea in a straight up win. Odds of 9/10, so £20 to return 17.80. Next up, Southampton-Everton, under 2.5 goals. We feel pretty confident that's going to come in. Almost even money, £19.20 potential return there. And then on the Sunday, Manchester City -1 and -1.5 on the Asian handicap. It's a little bit different to -1 because what will happen is if Manchester City win by exactly 1 goal, we lose half our stake, so we'd lose £10. If Manchester City win by 2 or more, we'll win our £14.20. Any other result, we'll lose our full stake of £20. So this weekend, across the 5 bets, we will be risking £100 sterling in order to hopefully pick up £94. Will we be able to? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into next episode. If you made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below. My name's been Nerdy Lover, and as always, have a lovely day.